Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We have with us today Annika Mack. She's got a fascinating story. Her website is AnnikaReneeMack.com. She's a survivor of human trafficking, and as a matter of fact, I think she was when she was in her the worst predicament. She was here in Las Vegas, being exploited and abused by these human traffickers. Annika, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. So Annika, before we get into your whole story about the horrors you went through, tell us a little bit about yourself now. Who is Annika Mack? What do you do, and what's your life like?
I am a survivor, a leader, an advocate in the movement to end human trafficking. So I do a variety of different things, including I have a nonprofit that I am vice president of in Las Vegas. I am a public speaker. I do trainings and things of that nature, and I also work on policies quite a bit.
Okay, great. So give me an idea now. How did this all come about? How did you wind up in the hands of these human traffickers?
So normally when someone is a victim to human trafficking, it's because they have a certain level of abuse that had happened to them prior to human trafficking. So they, in my case, I grew up in a very neglectful and abusive home. And when I was 16, I was kicked out of the house, and I became a runaway youth at that point for a year and a half until I was targeted by multiple traffickers because they saw that I was a good victim. I was only trafficked by one group that had contacted me. Luckily, I was able to get away from the other two without getting in harm, but I was just a vulnerable kid that was walking around Las Vegas, and I wasn't aware of what harm people were trying to hold on me.
Well, let me get an idea. Where did you live when you ran away? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Denver, Colorado. My family was very spread out throughout the country. So when I did become a runaway youth, it seemed normal to me to go to different states instead of to go to different parts of town, which was another reason why I never was put into protective custody, because I was always in different states. So I grew up, I lived in Denver, Colorado. I lived in different parts of California. I lived in Hawaii. I lived in Nevada. So I've lived in quite a few different places, and then when I became a runaway youth, I constantly ran back between different states. And so that was another reason why I kind of fell through the cracks of the system.
Gotcha. But before we get into all of that, what is it that caused you to run away? What was going on in your home growing up that was so bad that made you want to run away?
There was a lot of emotional abuse. There was a lot of neglect. There was a lot of physical abuse. There was some sexual abuse. So it was all around a lot of different attributes and things that from different family members or from different people in my life that kind of help create this unhealthy situation where I had started to run away.
So now, before you made the first decision to run away, was there anyone you could reach out to, like a school, a teacher, anything like that?
Well, because of the fact that I was kicked out of my mother's house the first time, and then started my running from there. But growing up, it wasn't just running around between different family members in different homes throughout the country. It was running around Denver. My mother had moved us quite a bit growing up. So I didn't have that stability of a school that I've always known or constant friends. Everybody was a new friend. So I didn't create long-lasting relationships very well. And so there was no one that I would count as there for me.
So when you would meet a new friend, you never confided in them what was going on in your home?
No, that was not something that was ever discussed. There was a certain level of, I had a younger brother, and he needed someone to take care of him. And so my thought at the time was that I needed to make sure that I was there to take care of him if no one else was going to be there. And so I felt like I was a caregiver. And to this day, I think that is really a part of my personality that makes me want to do this work, is the fact that I have a very caring caregiver personality.
Now, did you realize, up until 15, before 16, like 14, 15, that things in your home were different from your friends' homes, and that did you even realize that you were in a bad situation?
To a certain extent, I believe that I did know that my home was different, right. But I think to a certain extent it was what I thought of as normal.
Right.
And so I think to a certain degree I did know it was a little bit different. I knew that I didn't have both my parents. I didn't know what a healthy mother-daughter relationship looks like or things like that. But as far as the dysfunction of the home, I think that was my normal.
Right. Now I have a 17-year-old daughter. And like growing up, like a lot of her friends would come play over at the house and stuff like that. And you can kind of see some kids, their home life there's something going on. There's a problem, Mm-hmm. What kind of signs should a parent be looking for? And as these kids have grown up now, I have so many regrets looking back. I have so many regrets, especially with one of her friends who was so close to us. And I see what's just gone on in her life since we've moved apart. She lives in another state now, but we still keep in track on Facebook and stuff. I just have so many regrets of not stepping in and really stepping up and doing more. What can people like me, because I was a coach too with kids basketball and stuff. What can guys like me, parents like me do to keep an eye out for your kids' friends? What signs should we be looking for?
For me, I guess the biggest sign was that I was very neglected, and I kind of made sure dinner was on the table and things that a kid that's 12 shouldn't be doing. And I did have a friend whose mother definitely wanted me to come over every day after school, and that was very helpful for me. I mean, you can tell if a kid's wanting to go to your house constantly, or if they start to get close to you, it's probably because they don't have a close knit with their family at home. And I feel like those type of things are kind of a case-by-case basis, which is the same reality with human trafficking. When you're looking at cases of human trafficking, no case looks the same. You just can tell something is off.
Now that mother that you described who noticed something and she knew that you needed something, a void filled. Are you still in touch with her today?
Yes I am.
Okay. And what about your own parents? Now that you've escaped the situation, have you reconciled with them?
It's a journey. I'll say that. It's a journey. Right. I feel like there's still their own issues that they have to get through before able to make a real relationship based on foundation. But I am letting them be in my life, and I'm making sure there's good boundaries. And hopefully one day our relationship will be closer. But for right now, it's close. It's closer than it's ever been.
Okay.
So that's good.
And you said before that you had a younger brother. Now, I know you're still very young. You're like 21 years old. And your brother, how old is he, and what's going on with his situation?
He is 19, and he is actually in college. I'm very proud of him.
Okay, great. Okay,
doing
and where's
a double
he living
major. He lives in the dorms, and he had a little bit of a hard upbringing as well. Of course, we're staying in a house.
Sure.
He was, living with friends and stuff like that as well. So,
gotcha.
But he's doing really good.
Like yourself, he's like a survivor. He's like a scrapper and dug his way out of this.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now you said that your mother kicked you out of the house initially. Now, what was her thinking? Where did she think you were going to go when she just kicked you out of the house? Like, wouldn't you just walk down to the police station and say, hey, my mother just kicked me out of the house, arrest her?
No, that wasn't really. She had sent me to live with a family member in California. It was a really negative, another abusive family member.
Right.
And so that was the only person she would give over guardianship to. And so my hands were tied, especially in California. The laws are that your guardian, of course, has complete control over the whole entire situation, and there's certain laws about not being able to work unless you're in school, and some of those things made it very difficult for me because I knew nothing at that point in time. Nothing was forever. And I just had to constantly kind of wait time out until I was able to control what was going on in my life. And at that point in time, I thought 18 will be the time I can control my life. And so that was like a year and a half of me trying to constantly just wait it out.
So then what was it that suddenly that you said, okay, I got to hit the road at 16? What was the impetus to cause that?
The family member I was moved with was a very, again, negative. She was pretty much in for it for herself financially. And because of that, I was not feeling that I should be in this home, and I just went and started meeting people in the area of California I was in, and I started to couch hop. You know, sometimes I was homeless instead of deciding to go back to whoever's house I was. And then once that happened, once I got through that point in time where I was living with that family member or not living with that family member, she had sent me to another person, and then another person, and then another person. And I would do the same things because I felt like no one cared about me. It was just about the idea of taking me in. And so I had a lot of self-worth issues, and I felt like no one cared about what was going to happen to me.
Now, when you were being visiting from different house to different house, relatives, I guess, who had like some kind of guardianship over you, how were you able to like make friends so quickly that they would let you stay on their couch like right away? How did you manage that kind of stuff?
I've always been pretty adaptable. I think it really has to do with the fact that when I was young, you know, I was moved around from different school to different school.
Right.
So it's not necessarily about making a great friendship. It was just about making a friendship that was good enough where I would be able to stay at their home. It's not a life-lasting friendship, but they saw I was in need and they would help me. And so I think that my upbringing actually helped with those types of things.
Yeah, they say that little kids, like 3 or 4 years old, who are much more or less neglected, that they're more on their own, they learn verbal skills much earlier than kids that are spoiled around. Like my kid had a speech delay because all she had to do was grunt or point, and I'd run and get whatever she wanted, you know. So, but kids don't have that, you know. Like me and my kid, we read each other's minds, you know, so she didn't have to say anything. But kids who are a little more on their own, they learn these skills. So you were very resourceful. Would you say, too, that you were kind of manipulated, too? You kind of like seeing, you know, you're desperate, manipulative of people, too?
I believe at that time I was.
Yeah,
I feel like it was, for me, trying to survive.
Sure.
And, I mean, there was times when I wasn't eating, and there was times where I was in a shelter or I was sleeping on a bench or, you know, there was things that I needed to make sure that I did to make sure I was alive because I was under the impression no one had really cared about what was going on. And unfortunately, I think There were people that cared, but they didn't know what to do, and they couldn't have guardianship of me, so their hands were kind of tied. My mother was only willing to give guardianship to this one family member in California. Once I left her home, I wasn't living with my guardian at all for the rest of the time. And so their hands were tied on any legal action they could really do, whether I was, living with someone who was trying to help me or not.
Right. Yeah, I tell you, it brings up this thing, because one of my daughter's friends, like I said, that grew up in our house. Like right now, she's in guardianship in this other state with some guy, and I don't like the whole situation at all, but I just feel so, and I know she's very defensive about it, and, I don't know what to do. Maybe we can talk off the air or something and give me a little help with that, a little guidance in that. Now, but there come a day that you decided to break out of this situation and actually leave the state. So you decided, I'm going to break out on my own. Did you plan this out? Did you have stuff packed, or were you just fly by night?
I had moved so much within that year and a half that I had everything in plastic baggies.
Right.
And I would throw the plastic baggies into the suitcase because I was constantly being moved around or constantly leaving. And so, I lived within that year. I lived in Stockton, California. I lived in the Bay Area. I lived in Oceanside, California. I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada a couple times. I lived in Denver after my mother had kicked me out. So I constantly was moving every couple of months or so. And it was very hard. It was very hard.
Now, when you lived in Vegas, what part of town did you live in then?
I lived in the east area, the east side, which is not a good area of town, which was another issue that I had, because here I am walking around in the middle of the day when I should be in school, kind of, by myself, and I looked naive, and there were people that noticed that. Right.
Oh, definitely in this town. Forget it, man. The predators are on every freaking corner in this town. It's unbelievable. So then, and is that when you were targeted? Was it here in Vegas when these whether were you?
I was targeted 3 times. And each time I was walking. I was walking on the corner of Paradise and Tropicana.
Sure.
And then the other time I was walking on the corner of Swenson and Flamingo. I was at the Jack in the Box. But I was targeted 3 times, middle of the day, every single time, where, you think it would be normal. They just got my number. We talked a little bit. There was females who approached me, which made me feel like it was a more secure situation when it really wasn't. That was part of their plan. We talked for months. One of the possible traffickers, me and him had talked for months before we actually saw each other again. I tried to take all the safety procedures that I thought were necessary. Luckily, the first 2 traffickers, I had a really good group of friends that I had made that were actually very safe people. And because of these safe people, the traffickers thought I wasn't a good candidate for being a victim.
Now, you said, by the way, people should know that the Tropicana and Swenson, it's like Twain and Swenson. I was just on Twain and Swenson the other night. This is like a war zone, these areas, man. Forget it. All those the weekly motels and stuff. This is really a bad name. I can't imagine a 16-year-old kid walking around. God forbid my daughter would find a way around there. Now, but these people approach you, the women and the men, how old were they? Were they your age, much older?
They weren't much older. The oldest person was early 30s, and so my specific trafficker was only 28. So he was young. As far as what people think traffickers would look like, he didn't look like that stereotypical pimp that you would imagine. He didn't look that way. He was much younger. He didn't have the fur coats or anything of that nature. He wore True Religion jeans and a button-up shirt. He was, and so that's another thing, is that I was thinking about, oh, this is what this person would look like. This is what this person would look like.
Right.
And the other girl I was trafficked with was only 10 months older than me.
Now, weren't these guys considered concerned that you were so young? That meanwhile, they could just get an 18-year-old girl, and the charges would be so much less if they were to be trafficking an 18-year-old rather than a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old?
So at this point, when I lived in Las Vegas, I was 17. I was only months away from me turning 18.
Right.
So each trafficker was waiting until I turned 18.
Gotcha.
So what happens when you're targeting a victim is you have someone that's got vulnerabilities, and then you start the grooming process, which is actually a time before the trafficking even starts. And in this time, the traffickers will distance the victim from their families, from their friends, and their safety net, and will lavish gifts which make them feel loved and cared for, and will start to manipulate them in thinking differently about their self-worth, their values, what is normal and what is unnormal, and things of that nature. So grooming can take as little as a couple of weeks for some girls if they've already been trafficked, or if they have a lot of abuse. And some girls, it could take 4 months. And so each one of them was trying to groom me. And unfortunately, the grooming process had already started. So what I mean by that is there were certain things that I started to like. The first set of traffickers had, it was the girl that actually approached me, and she was about 23, and she said, hey, do you want to come sell cell phones with us? And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, no, never mind. You'll just come and walk around with us. Walk around with me around downtown, down Fremont Street. And I said, okay. And she goes, we'll pay you. And I was like, all right. At this point, I was hungry. I was not eating normally. I was wearing clothes that had holes in it all the time, and things of that nature. So the idea of making money, because I was 17 and wasn't allowed to go to get a job because I had to be in school, was very appealing. And so they had taught me a little bit of reliance on finances, and they started the grooming process there. By the time that my actual trafficker had got me, I was already so groomed. I was so disconnected from my family. I was so disconnected from friends and other people. I was thinking money was so important at that point that I was an easier target.
Now, with the grooming too, was it did it involve compliments or trying to wear down your self-esteem?
I think it was both. Very, very, very upfront when it came to the compliments, but there were certain things that were very manipulative that were tearing me down.
Well, give me an idea, like what? Because I had a guy in recently who was he's involved in the hypnotism and stuff like that, right? So we were talking about this, how pimps break down these girls, and he would say like, well, they'll compliment you, say, well, I think you're beautiful, but most people won't think you are, like that kind of thing, Like, but that's you know what I'm saying? Something like that.
So my trafficker, when I was trafficked, my family had not contacted me for any reason.
Right.
And so he used that by saying, we care about you here at this home.
Right.
You matter to us. Clearly you don't matter to them because they haven't called the police. They haven't called your phone. They aren't really looking for you. They clearly don't care. And it's things like that definitely make your self-worth feel a lot worse.
Yeah, that's what that guy Ariel Castro used to say to the girls he had kidnapped in his house. Well, no one's even looking for you. Nobody cares about you. And all right. So then, now, what about when they first approached you with the idea of actual prostitution? How did that happen?
I was running away. I was getting on a Greyhound bus the next morning, and I was visiting my dad in his side of town, which my dad is the reason I actually had moved to Vegas in the first place. And so I was visiting for the last time and the night before, and I went back to the bus stop to head up to where my aunt and uncle live, which is a nicer side of town. And when I got to the bus stop, a car had pulled up, and the young girl was in the passenger seat, and he was in the driver's seat, and they asked me if I wanted to come party. And I said yes. So I got in the car, and that night seemed really normal. And we just watched movies, we drank a little bit, we smoked some weed. But it seemed, I never thought that they had ill intentions. He asked me how I was getting to the Greyhound station the next morning. And when he asked this, I said I had to take 4 local buses to get to the Greyhound station. Right. And he goes, well, why don't we go pick up your stuff, and you could take a nap here, so that way you can sleep before you have to go, and we'll drive you there. And so I thought this was really nice, and again, didn't think that he had any ill intentions for me. So he made me miss my bus because he accidentally forgot what time my bus was leaving and left the house at the time that I was supposed to be heading it out.
Right.
And then after that, he approached me with the idea of, oh, you only have to do it for a couple of weeks, and if you do it for a couple of weeks, then we'll give you $500. You can pay for your Greyhound. You can pay for some food on the way out there, and we'll buy you some clothes. We'll keep you fed. We'll keep you housed. And I looked very blankly at him, and I said, it looks like you made me have to. And I was trafficked that night for the first time. He didn't get the grooming time with me, so I wasn't in love with him. And that's the part of the grooming process that's really important, is that usually in this way, so that there's more ability to brainwash and to manipulate and to have this love relationship where the girl wants to do something because they love him. Right. Where I didn't get that time specifically with my trafficker, so he had changed his tactics and was they call him a guerrilla pimp. And a guerrilla pimp is someone who uses a lot of physical force in fear and threat to keep their victims.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
Thank you so much for listening to the Opperman Report. I want to welcome all our new listeners at WWPR 1490 AM in the Tampa Bay area. We're brand new down here. We're getting a nice warm welcome. We have great advertising opportunities for local sponsors, local businesses, but also international websites and international companies too. We're on our other stations in California, Nevada, Utah, and on the internet worldwide. But down here in Tampa Bay, Florida, we have some great opportunities for you to come in and get very, very affordable advertising rates. Get a hold of me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and we'll cut you a good deal. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Now, a couple of questions. Now, you said that that night you were drinking and smoking with them, but had you been doing that before? Was this something you did like when did you start drinking and using pot and stuff?
I mean, I did a little bit. It was an occasional thing. But, I mean, I feel like every teenager does it to a certain extent. But, again, like, normal teenagers would know that, hey, I don't know these people. I should probably not drink and smoke with them. But for me, it seemed rather normal because I was constantly living with people that I really didn't know when I was sleeping on their couches. So it seemed like it was more normal than really what it was.
And when he told you missed the bus, okay, I left at the wrong time, was he convincing or were you suspicious of that?
I was suspicious, and I think that was why I'm pretty sure I was suspicious. I can't remember exactly what happened that day because it's such a blur, that time I spent there now. Yeah. But yeah, I was pretty suspicious, and I believe that was exactly why I said it looks like you made me have to, because I very distinctly remember saying that to him.
Okay. So you said to him, it looks like maybe I have to.
I said it looks like you made me have to.
Made me have to miss the bus.
Mm-hmm. Or
okay,
have to. I said it looks like you made me have to, as in. It looks like you made me not have a choice in whether or not I go and prostitute for you.
Okay, now I understand, because the first time you said I wasn't clear. Now, how did they do this? Were they like a Craigslist ad, or did they make you walk on the street, have a motel room? What would they do?
The girl who was trafficked with me, she's called a bottom. And a bottom is a girl who's like works as almost as an assistant for the trafficker. This looks like training girls that are coming in, watching the other girls, making sure they're doing what they need to do, working on transportation for all the girls, working on getting the money collected. And so depending on the case, some girls are working out of fear and because they're victimized, and others are working with more criminal intent. So she was the one that had taught me how to be sold on the strip. And for the first couple weeks, she did the complete talking, everything. I wasn't handling anything on my own. I was just standing there.
What part of the strip?
So I was trafficked all over the strip, from the Venetian to the Aria to the Luxor to the Caesar's Palace, every single casino.
Oh, inside the casinos?
Yep.
And how would you do this? You'd hang out at the bar? Did you have fake ID? How'd you do this?
No, I did not have fake ID. I could honestly walk in there right now and tell you some girls that are working at this very moment. It's pretty simple to see. Yes, they do hang out at the bars quite a bit. You kind of walk around, you do your rounds, you communicate with possible buyers, and then you actually go start a conversation with them. And then they'll usually tell you, let's go up to my room, and that's usually how that happens.
But there was another girl with you who was doing all the conversation with these guys and collecting the money, and then I guess waiting for you out in front of the room. Go up to the room, pick you up afterwards, right?
Yeah, she would usually wait inside the room, but yes.
You're waiting inside the room, okay. Now, what about hotel security? Did you have any kind of problems with them?
There was a couple times where they did start to want to chase us out. The thing is I think that to a certain degree, the casinos are aware, depending on the casino, are aware of what's going on, but they are not putting a stop to it because they're not sure whether or not this is human trafficking or if this is prostitution. And when there's a big buyer who comes into the casinos, if they're happy and they're putting a lot of money in the casinos, then they kind of let things slide a little more.
Right. Now, how long did this go on?
I was trafficked for 4 months. So normally girls who are trafficked using the Romeo pimp or boyfriend pimp, which includes the manipulation and the love and things like that, are trafficked for a lot longer because he was only keeping me there by physical force, and I definitely was very sick by the time I got out of my trafficking situation. But I believe that's why I was trafficked for a short amount of time.
Oh, because he would beat you regularly.
Yes. I was hospitalized for a month after my trafficking.
Now, and what were the symptoms? What were the injuries?
I had 28 broken bones, one in my skull, 4 in my jaw, 3 in the vertebrae in my neck, 3 in the vertebrae in my back, 18 on my ribs. I had lacerations to my liver, my kidney, and my spleen, and I was internally bleeding from my spleen. I was about 90 pounds, and I'm 5'5", and I had gangrene infection on my butt that was about 3 hours away from my bloodstream, so 3 hours from killing me. I needed an amputated finger because I had gangrene infection there. I was in really bad shape. I had 12 surgeries.
What? But then walking around in that kind of condition, you were able to walk around the casinos in that kind of condition? Or by that point?
Well, I mean, at that point in time, he was beating me so regularly that something had changed in him. I wasn't something to necessarily sell. It was more about the power of the beatings and things of that nature. So I wasn't really going out too much. But at some point in time, he did learn to, instead of hit my face, hit my body. So that way I could wear clothes that would cover the injuries. And unfortunately, there was a lot of buyers who, when seeing those injuries, just really didn't care.
Now, there must have been at least a couple of occasions where a buyer would see that kind of situation and says, hey, do you need help? Never?
No. No, there was no. Unfortunately, there wasn't.
Okay, because I've done some investigations into escort services and stuff like that, and these guys, they're called white knights, you know, who kind of like try and rescue these girls all the time. You didn't run into one of those all this time?
No. Unfortunately, I was never put into the escort service. Right. I was never put in an escort service because my traffickers thought I would run away, which is a reasonable, thought. But that was unfortunately why I wasn't put in escort services. I think that there's that middlemen who are in escort services, and I think that I probably would have tried to run.
Gotcha. Now, how were you able to escape this situation?
So the gangrene on my section on my butt, I was walking around with it for about 2 weeks. And at first my body kind of made a covering, and then it started to smell, started to leak fluids, and then my butt actually started to fall out. So I was very close to dying. And I think he knew that. I think he purposely made this transaction because he knew that. So he sold me to another trafficker who didn't know what my condition was, and he sold me for a Chrysler 300. That was my dead body's price, was a Chrysler 300. And this other trafficker had called him after about 3 days of me sleeping on the floor, dying. He said, I did not pay for a dead body. You need to come pick her up and take her to the hospital, or I'm going to get my car back. And because my trafficker wanted this car so badly, he took me to near a hospital, and I walked about a mile to get to the hospital. But that even took some convincing because he was ready to take me to the desert. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I read about this case in the papers. I think I read about this. This is a big story down here?
Yes, this was a very big. It was, he was the first trafficker. He was the first man to be convicted of sex trafficking in Las Vegas and in Nevada.
Oh, really? And what year was that?
By a jury.
Okay.
That was in 2016.
2016.
Yeah, not very long ago.
Yeah, I did see this in the paper. By the way, so the audience knows, the way I ran into Annika was I had an ad to hire somebody to help me out with the Hank Harrison film and other stuff we're working on here, and that's how we actually met. Then I heard her send me a resume, and I heard the story. I said, let's do an interview. So I had no idea that she's the actual woman. I've read this story about the whole, about the girl dying. My God, that's you. My God, thank God you're okay.
Thank you.
That story, my God, it's a horrific story. No, thank God, you sound great. Now, so you went to the emergency room, and then what happened? The cops come right away?
The cops came the next day because clearly an assault had happened. I was told to give a fake story. That was part of the reason why he did drop me off at the hospital area.
Right.
Because I was forced to recite this story over and over again. And when that happened, I had just gave that fake story. I gave it a second time to a second police officer who came. And the second one was unfortunately a more negative experience. But sorry, I'm a little sick. But it did lead to the right detective coming in the room, and I was connected with a vice unit detective who I had created a relationship with for a good 5 weeks before I decided to give my statement. I was trafficked during the time of 4 months. The girl that I was trafficked with was trafficked for a lot longer, and she was actually pregnant with this child, which none of that is inside the paper. But the reason I decided to go forward with a court case was because of the fact that I wanted to make sure that this baby had a better life than what she was given.
Now, when the cops came in and started talking to you, did you know the address where you were living? You knew where you were located. We knew where these people were, right?
No, I actually had no idea what the address of where I was living for 4.5 months. I had known a couple cross streets.
Right.
And we were stopped at a traffic stop for some registration stuff. And that was where they were able to pull up all of our records and connect us together. And we were living at his home on his address. So that's how they were able to start finding out exactly who it was that I was being trafficked by.
So then what happens next? You go to court?
I went to the grand jury in 2014. I waited for a year and a half until we went to sentencing. To court, to trial. I was on the stand for about 9 hours, 2 days. He was found guilty on all 15 charges that he was looking at, including sex trafficking and first-degree kidnapping, and assault with use of deadly weapon resulting in substantial bodily harm. And then in May of 2016, we went to his sentencing. I gave my victim impact statement, and he was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And he actually had died this past May from a blood clot, I think, was what the articles had said.
Oh, well, great. Great. That's a happy ending. I'm going to just say it like it is, man. Thank God. Get this guy, forget him. Now, I got a crazy question for you. What about the hospital bill? Are you still stuck with that?
Luckily, I had Medi-Cal, so I did not have any medical bills, thank God.
Thank God.
I could only imagine.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm still going through surgeries for it, so it might happen at some point that I have to do some paying of the bills.
Now, you can use your Medi-Cal here in Nevada? I didn't know that. You can do that?
You are able to. I was living in California. I had insurance in California when I was 17, 18. But you can if it's an emergency.
Gotcha.
So I think that's countrywide. So if you're getting insurance from Kentucky and you have a medical emergency that you need to go to an emergency department with, you can receive care in Nevada.
Okay, great. Now this just happened in May, so now you must still be traumatized from this, right? Are you going to therapy now? You getting any kind of therapy?
I've been getting therapy since 2014. I love my therapy, and I think it's just it's a healing process. I think everybody. I feel like this is something that's I'm never going to necessarily get over it. I'm going to always deal with it a little bit. Yeah. But especially over the past year, it's been a much more smooth ride. I feel like I'm coming into myself. I'm able to grow in a lot of aspects that I would have never been able to do if I wasn't trafficked. So
now, now you're involved like in an ad. You got your website here, AnnikaMack.com, and it's Annika with 2 N's, ANNIKA, then Renee with 2 E's, RENEEMACK.com.
Oh, 2 N's as well.
Yeah,
Renee is
RENNEEE.
Right. Yep.
What, did your parents stutter when they named it? What do they call it? Now, so soon you've gone into this advocacy and speaking and stuff like that. You think that's been a benefit for you, or you think maybe you should have waited?
Well, I actually, I know a lot of survivors of human trafficking that get into the movement actually right after exiting. Yeah. I didn't get into the movement until the month that he went to sentencing. So, I waited for a good, almost 2 years. But I think that the wait that I had was really beneficial. But I think I didn't want to wait too long. And my goal was that I would go into this work. I went to a survivors retreat about 6 weeks after I got out of the hospital. And I didn't know there was people like me. And then I realized there's people like me that are lawyers, that are authors, who run nonprofits and are international speakers. And it changed my world.
Now, are you concerned about any kind of retaliation from these people and their friends and stuff?
I'm always going to have that little bit of fear talking, but I don't think it's necessarily an issue I got to worry about, nor is it something I think it's big enough. I don't think it's a big enough concern to really stop what I'm doing.
Annika, I'm so sorry. We're out of time. Annika Renee Mack.com. I'll put a link up on the in the YouTube and on Spreaker and iTunes and stuff like that. Thank you so much, Annika, okay?
And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.